Joining me now live is Bradley Bowman. He's the Senior Director of the Center for Military and Political Power in the Foundation for Defense and Democracies. He's joining me live now from Washington. Bradley, let me ask you a question. What does Saudi Arabia get out of all of this? They're not really anywhere involved. It's regionally not even in the area.
It's a good question. You know, Saudi Arabia and the Crown Prince are eager to begin to change perceptions of the kingdom and to build its influence on the international stage. And this is a major way to do that. You have 40-some countries attending. You have Riyadh apparently playing an important role in getting Beijing to send a representative. And they really want to demonstrate that they're an important and middle power of growing influence. And this is a great way for them to do that.
But, you know, we'll get to more on this after the break, Bradley. I just want to ask you, think about this question for 1 second. You know, usually it's Sweden. Usually it's Switzerland. So is there something that Saudi Arabia wants out of this, like that they're not getting? That is there some sort of backroom deal that we don't know about? I'll ask you more about that in the break. But also, just before we go to break, I just want to let our viewers know, we'll talk also about Navy sailors who have been charged with spying for China. Now, is China going for the military people who are looking for cash over country, or were these two sailors set up? They were two separate sailors, both of Chinese-American origin. We'll have more on that when I24 News continues right after the break.
Is changing. Old alliances make way for new partnerships.
Bigger threats lead to new relationships, and shared goals mean new opportunities.
We speak to those who know the inside story and are at the heart of the changes.
Don't get caught up with the same old story.
Find out what's happening in Middle East Now.
Middle East Now on I24 News.
Strictly Security, your weekly look into security, intelligence, and strategic affairs. Our team brings the latest on the major international conflicts, analysis of the major security issues right here in the Middle East and around the globe. Join us for a close look at innovative military technology and get up to speed with what's happening in cyberspace. Saturdays, only on I24 News.
We're on the inside of political and religious passions in Jerusalem, breaking down the financial trends shaping the global economy, giving you key context, not just headlines, with the stories from Israel that touch the U.S. and those across the region with impact far beyond its borders. Catch the rundown where the Middle East meets the world.
Made for Me, a unique concept in Israel. Custom-made men's fashion to your measurements. Made for Me, designer of all your events. Schedule your appointment at www.madeforme.co.il. Made for Me, official dresser of I24 News.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome back to the I24 News Desk. I'm Albert Lewitton in Tel Aviv. Once again, the 30 nations have arrived in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, to begin peace talks between Ukraine and Russia. Of course, Russia's not been involved and not been invited. Rejoining me now is Bradley Bowman. He's the Senior Director of the Center for Military and Political Power and also the Foundation for Defense and Democracies in Washington. Bradley, before we went to break, I asked you a simple question. What does the Saudi get all of this? I'm wondering whether or not it's basically the Americans who wish that they could be involved but can't. And so what they did is they said to the Saudis, you know what, you do a solid for us and we'll get you on the back end of this.
I think there's an element of truth to what you're saying. In addition to wanting to change perceptions of the kingdom in the West, particularly, frankly, with the political left, I think the Crown Prince also wants three major things from the United States. He wants a more reliable access to American weapons. He wants some sort of security guarantee, and he wants support for a Saudi nuclear program. And perhaps he believes that by doing this favor, if you will, for the Biden administration, that he can build goodwill that will increase the chances that he'll get a favorable response on some of those requests.
But let's talk about these talks for 1 second. They're going to have 30 countries from all around the world. They show up there. Russia's not even invited. And then who's going to say that these talks, when they're completed, Putin's going to say, oh, yeah, great idea. Why don't I go ahead and try to figure this out? He's not going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely not an easy panacea here, but that doesn't mean it's not a worthwhile effort. And international diplomacy, you know, sometimes you have meetings to prepare for the meetings. And in American microwave culture, that's kind of unsatisfying. But if this leads to consensus, increased consensus in the West around Zelensky's peace plan, and you start to kind of build some consensus with India, Brazil, and South Africa, and you put more pressure on Putin, which after all conducted naked aggression in Ukraine, then from Ukraine's perspective, and I'd say from an American perspective, that's a good thing.
Great. Bradley Bowman, he's Senior Director for the Center on Military and Political Power and Foundation for Defense of Democracy. He's joining us again from Washington, D.C. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.